Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on his maiden voyage to Iowa.
I bring greetings from the free state of Florida.
Riding a wave of lofty expectations to the state that opens the Republican presidential contest in less than a year. People lined up to catch a glimpse of the governor, who technically is promoting his book.
This is the #1 best-selling nonfiction book in the country.
But actually is testing a White House bid that he intends to make official by summer.
Welcome to Iowa. This is your first trip.
DeSantis has told advisors he will wait until the Florida legislative session ends, so he can campaign on an even bolder agenda, one that is delighting supporters and alarming critics.
I always tell my legislators, you watch Iowa, watch these, do not let them get ahead of us on any of this stuff. So we've got our legislature in session now, so buckle up. The next 60 days should be fun in Florida.
He's stoking the culture wars in schools.
We're also leading on ensuring that our school system is focusing on educating our kids, not indoctrinating our kids.
And beyond.
We've got to fight if we see it in medicine or the universities or the corporations. You can't just say, let it go, because then we're going to be living under an oppressive wokeocracy.
Holding up his Florida record as a blueprint for a national platform and presenting himself as a doer, not a talker.
A leader is not captive to polls. We don't have palace intrigue. We don't have any drama. It's just execution every single day.
I'll build the wall myself. I'll do it. Just let me at him. We'll get it done.
That was a subtle yet unmistakable distinction with Donald Trump, who visits Iowa on Monday. The 2024 Republican campaign is intensifying, with former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley urging Iowa voters to keep an open mind.
Whatever the polls tell you today, that is not where the polls are going to be a year from now.
But for many Republicans, the Florida governor stands as a beacon of hope for those who admire Trump but are eager to move on.
I would love to have him as our next president.
Becky Griesbach was among those eager to see DeSantis close up.
President Trump has been an amazing president, but he alienates too many people with what he says. And I think Governor DeSantis is doing a good job at appealing to Americans.
Now, the Florida governor just finished shaking hands here and left the room. And Aaron, I can tell you, Republican had high expectations coming into this day, and they are leaving it having those expectations met. One Republican voter here who said they're looking for a change described the Florida governor as very impressive, a straight shooter. Of course, this is probably the easiest trip he will take to Iowa. He had no arrows coming his direction. He's heading to Nevada tomorrow, another early voting state. Of course, this is all before he decides or announces that he's going to run, but I am told that is expected to come in May or early June.
Kirsten, we heard Governor DeSantis take thinly veiled shot at former President today when he talked about how there's no drama in his administration. It's something he said before. How long do you think it is before the tension between the two of them actually becomes more direct?
Well, I mean, obviously Donald Trump has been openly attacking him, and the question is how much Ron DeSantis wants to really seriously engage with that. I don't think it's really in his interest to do that, because I think we've seen in the past what happens to people who get in the mud with Donald Trump. You know, they end up usually not coming out looking that great, and he's smarter, I think, to stay focused on whatever issues it is that he thinks are going to help him win the nomination, which is if he decides to run, which, let's face it, he's in Iowa in early March. He lives in Florida. He's probably pretty serious thinking about running for president. If that's what he's going to do, then he should just focus more on the issues that he has that excite the base.
Scott, there was reporting today by Politico about how many of the other Republican presidential candidates, both declared and undeclared, are focused on attacking Trump and DeSantis. Their thinking is reportedly that there's only one viable lane for the anti-Trump vote, and therefore they need to take the fight to DeSantis. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think in this primary, you've got Trump, and then there's going to be one other person that emerges. And right now, if you look at DeSantis's favorability ratings and really look at the fact that he has virtually no detractors inside the Republican Party, every other Republican candidate who wants this thing is going to have to find a way to drag him down. I don't know how they're going to be able to do it, to be honest. I'm sure they're going to try, but he is in a different universe, really, than every other person that's not Trump that's seeking this nomination. DeSantis has the right emotional sort of attachment to the Republican base. And what you see in his favorability numbers is not only good numbers among people who voted for Trump, but also those college-educated Republican voters that drifted away from the Republican Party and drifted away from Trump. They love DeSantis. And so of everybody in this thing right now, he looks like the one that has the capability of putting together the coalition that could possibly, I say, topple the former president.
He's obviously never run a national campaign, Kirsten. DeSantis' allies, some of them are arguing his success is not necessarily because of how he campaigns, but how he governs. I don't know if that's sort of laying groundwork for saying he's not maybe a great national campaigner, but that obviously remains to be seen. Is that going to be enough in a state like Iowa where retail politics are so important?
Well, we don't really know whether he's going to be good at national politics or not. Obviously, there are plenty of people who haven't done it before and have been successful. So, I mean, Donald Trump had ever held office at all. So I think we have to wait and see, how he does on a national stage. And the fact is, I think if the vote was taken to most of the parties is with Donald Trump, but his numbers are on the downswing. I mean, they're definitely not they used to be. And so there is an opening for a Trump plus, not I think there's this idea of also there's the people who are a little bit of less of the Trumpiness. I don't think there's much appetite for that in the Republican Party. They're looking for either a Trump or a Trump plus. And DeSantis is a Trump plus.
Scott, I think Democrats are kind of betting that Governor DeSantis' focus on culture wars will turn off women, working class voters. Do you think moderate swing state voters care very much when he boasts that Florida is where woke goes to die? Do you think that plays well?
Well, I mean, the only evidence I have to look at on this is what happened in his reelection campaign in Florida that he won by 20 points. Urban, suburban, rural, exurban, people with college degrees, people without college degrees, independents. I mean, women, men. I mean, any way you slice and dice humanity, Ron DeSantis did a pretty darn good job of racking up votes in Florida. So I think the message he's been running on, we've had one test case for it, and it seemed to work. I'll tell you, Anderson, the average Republican feels surrounded right now. They feel like every large information hub in our society is really at odds with their worldview, whether it's corporations, universities, media, you name it, politicians, government institutions. And they feel like DeSantis is the person who does more than just complain about it. He actually finishes the fights. I think that's the line of demarcation for him. Everybody in this field can complain. I can finish it.
I asked this to Kirsten. I wanted to ask you, Scott, do you think these candidates know, do you think the world knows how to campaign against Donald Trump from a Republican standpoint? Because, here we are all these years later, and we're still talking about should Ron DeSantis directly attack him or not? We have a whole field of defeated candidates, Jeb Bush among them, Marco Rubio, who tried all different ways, and none of it worked.
No, I think all the Republicans from 2016 forward are like the Will Smith character in I Am Legend. They're in the lab and they're like testing all the serums out, and the rats keep dying. Like they can't figure out how to solve it. Maybe Ron DeSantis is the one to solve it, but we don't know yet, because the theory he's going to test out is to put results up against rhetoric and to put a younger generation up against an older generation. We just haven't seen this particular concoction yet. Maybe we'll put it in the lab in Iowa, New Hampshire, other places, and it will work. But no one has successfully campaigned against him yet, except one person, and that was Joe Biden, who defeated Donald Trump. And we know what will happen, I think, as a Republican. I know what will happen if we nominate Donald Trump again.
Kirsten, if my memory of the ending of I Am Legend, I don't want to give away for anybody who might want to watch it on television, but it doesn't end well for Will Smith at the end of the movie. Is there a right way for DeSantis to respond to Trump when he decides to?
I don't think it's a good idea to get into it with Donald Trump. I think, don't let Donald Trump say what he's going to say, but trying to get it, like I said, trying to get into the mud with him is not ever going to work well for anybody. I think it's better for him to, to respond based on the issues that concern him, but not get into these petty little name games and all these other things, which even the people who like Donald Trump say they don't really like that much, right? A lot of times they're like, this, we don't really need this. It's not really adding a lot, all the little nicknames that you give everybody. So, but he's gonna, he's already going after him. He needs a better nickname. Let's be honest. I don't think DeSanctimonious is probably going to do it. But he's going to continue to go after him. But I do think that Ron DeSantis is qualitatively different than the other people. And I don't know what Scott thinks about this, but then from the other people that ran the last time. I think he's a different kind of politician, and is a little more connected with the base.
Scott Jennings.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Yeah.
What she just said, Anderson, 100% correct. People are trying to compare him to the candidates in 2016. His numbers and his connection with Republicans is vastly different than anybody Trump faced before. That's why Trump, I think, is already in sort of mini freak out mode about it.